Welcome on Butthurt Developer channel. My name is Dima. I'm working on some solution for musicians. In this video, I'm going to talk about enums. Enums inside database and PHP code. Most likely, you watch and read a lot of information about development. And most likely, you have come across information that it is forbidden to use enums in the database. Enums have a big problem with updating. You should create some temporary column and etc. and etc. And it is better to use numeric types or string. This is actually true. Bloggers don't lie. But they forget to say that this problem are relevant only for MySQL databases. So I will talk about Postgres specifically. I do not watch for other database solutions. So enums in Postgres are just great. They will make your code readable, very optimized, and working with database pleasant. A little cherry. In Postgres, enums are separated data type. Not all enums are data type, but each enum is separate data type. And if your enum has less than 255 items, enum record takes only 4 bytes. It is less than a varchar with a single symbol. Only small int and boolean are less. And of course, if you can use boolean, do not create enums with yes/no options, and small integer does not ensure the integrity of the database. We will have to add some conditions to it, and most importantly, it is difficult to read. I'm talking about type size, not because I care about disk space. This is actually very important, the size of indexes and a speed of creating indexes, and much more importantly, the speed of searching using these indexes. But be careful, if you use Postgres, Laravel is lying to you. A small example, I'm working on the session functionality and I want to find from which devices the user log in. I have 4 options: mobile, tablet, desktop or bot. And if I write table enum inside Laravel migration, column name and array with options, make a migration, in the database I see that the type is not an enum. It is varchar with 255 symbols. And if I look to the constraints, I can see constraint device type check. I see a condition that check is the type one of the options or not. If you did not know the constraints, check each insert or update and block saving if the condition is not met. And this is a very bad solution, much worse than using integer. We have a big varchar column type and the condition that will be checked every time when we save something. Yes, it is easy condition, but nevertheless. So we don't trust Laravel to create enums, but we create enums ourselves. db unprepared, create type device type as enum, mobile, tablet, desktop or bot. And please don't forget inside migration down, remove this type, drop type device type, and say Laravel to create column with type device type and column name type. So run migration, go to database, and I see type column has type device type, public device type, but no matter. And if I try add some record, dbbeaver says, okay man, you have 4 options, just select one of them. Because this is a data type, we can add and edit option in search enums without any problems. And reuse enum, of course, in different tables. It is difficult just to delete options, but in practice you will very rarely delete them. It is much easy to rename, but if it's necessary to delete, I advise you to simply rename with prefix alt and make filter inside your code. It's the easiest way, and most likely alt will be renamed to some new one very quickly. Here you could notice that Laravel blueprint do not have a method type column. I wrote it myself using Laravel Macros. Almost all Laravel entities have a macroable decorator or trait if you want. This trait allows us to add our own methods to entities, add them globally. It is very useful, but at the same time it is add a more magic to the Laravel. As a developer, you should know how to work with macros, but please don't abuse them, because I have seen attempts to build a large project on macroses, and that is a very bad idea. It is very difficult to support such a product. So we have to register our macros in some boot method. I create migration service provider and 2 simple macros. Grammar macros add function type raw. They should return column property raw type, and blueprint macros type column should run add column with type raw. This will be converted to type raw inside grammar, column name, and as option send raw type and type from parameters. Of course, we can use add column construction in all migration with grammar registry some new type, but it is much more useful, and I'm going to use many custom types in my project. Also, IDE helper see the macroses, so we will have no problem with autocomplete inside IDE. Oh, and of course, do not forget to add migration service provider to ipconfig file. I have to say one more. In previous versions of Laravel, there were 2 problems. First, the doctrine did not work with custom types, but Laravel work with doctrine. We have to register each type separately. And second one, IDEA helper have a problem with custom types. And we of course have to register each separately. But now I did not see any problem with it. I cannot reproduce any cases, what I remember. So I skip this step and I will write to the text version of the video if I find something new. You can find a link to the text version inside video description. So everything is clear with the database. Now the code. PHP 8 allows us to use native enums and Laravel perfectly supports them. We can use it in validation, we can use it as parameters and etc. So I create a simple enum device type with 4 options. Nothing special. I will use this enum in cast model. For you, I will show enum testing. For convenience, I create interface enumdb inside app contracts directory, extends unit enum. It is just for autocomplete inside IDEA and said that interface realize one function. Static function db type should return string with PostgreSQL custom name, of course. So my enums will implement enumdb interface. And for test, I created a trait, test enum. First of all, abstract function force developer to create method tested enum and return enum class. And first simple test, enum equal with database. Test with a very simple logic. We got all cases from enum inside code and all cases from enum inside database and check if they are equal. So we will be sure that enum in the code match the enum in the database. So enum testing should look like this. Use test enum and function should return enum class, device type class in my case. Run the test, all work, and the next test related with previous video. PHP Swagger package, easy, rate specification for enums. We can simply add OpenAPI scheme attribute to enum class, and I will prevent forgetting adding this attribute. So I create a simple test using reflection API. I just check if scheme was adding to enum class or not. So let's test. Run test again, all good. Remove some case from enum inside code, and I got a fail. Inside database we have 4 cases, inside code only 3. Next, remove schema attribute and have a failed test. And the last check, rename mobile to mobile1 and have error mobile1 not found inside database. All good, tests work fine. And of course, if I go to Swagger, I can find device type in schemes sections. Also, I strongly recommend you to use backed enumerations or scalar enumeration. They allow us separate name and value of enum case. This allow us to use beautiful capitalize name inside code and in the same time use compact value inside database or inside query parameters. For example, one since what we have to do, just add string as type of OpenAPI scheme or to numeric if you use numeric, of course. And of course, I rewrite test for using value if it possible. The last what I have to say about enums, please don't be afraid to write some enum logic inside enum class, filtering, subgrouping and etc. It's help you isolate code and reuse it. And of course, we should test this logic. That's why I use trait. Trait contains common tests and we should write specific test for each enum. And of course, I created OpenAPI attribute for enum properties. We should not remember anything, just send property name and enum class to property. That's all, very useful. So enums will make your code optimized. You will forget about joins inside query, forget about unnecessary validation, forget about situation when no one knows what's the number 3 in the status field, and of course makes your code more readable. And I don't ask you to subscribe for this knowledge. I ask you not to forget about Ukraine. Russia is an aggressor and a terrorist country. Every day Russia makes war crimes in my country. So please support Ukraine as much as you can. Even a like on the news about aid to Ukraine will be useful. Thank you.